Do you think or hope that Formula E could beat Formula One to the first female elite champion? First of all, what made you want to do this all-female testing session?
We have a belief that men and women can compete equally in motorsport. We also understand fully that the opportunities aren't equal in the way that they exist to get those seats in World Championship Series. So the test is designed to give 18 of the best women racing drivers in the world the opportunity to get into the car, exactly the same car that the men are racing in, on exactly the same track, and to showcase their potential.
And I guess, what do you ultimately hope to achieve with this session? How will you sort of measure its success?
Nobody's looking at these test times and saying, well, they were a little bit slower than the male drivers or the men drivers, because these men drivers have had years in some cases in these cars testing. That's what I'm saying. Very low expectations going into the test. However, what I would love to see is times at the start of the day come down as the test progresses. I would love the teams here that are supporting the women to want to give them opportunities to get more time in the simulator, more time in the car, because they see potential. And from that, ultimately, we want to see women racing in the car. I'm not sure that will happen in the next 12 months, but I think over the next 24, 36 months, there will be women that are testing here in Madrid that will show they have the potential to find their way into the car and ultimately be back in the series racing.
This is also obviously the first time that Formula E and the teams will have a huge data set from the 19 women. How will they use that data, and how do you hope that will help female drivers going forward?
So it's not just about the teams, it's also about us looking at what does it take to encourage more women into the car, and under what environment and in what conditions do the women perform their best. So we will use that data, the teams will use that data, and we will hopefully be able to compress the time frame required to take some of these women drivers from first time in the car to getting the opportunity to drive in races.
And I know that you've said that you also want this to be able to provide an opportunity to inform how you might design cars better for women going forward too. Could you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I guess there's three outcomes. We have three strategic pillars that we're looking to fulfill. The first thing we're looking at is research. So we're doing that in combination with an organisation called More Than Equal, and together we will be doing qualitative research, talking to drivers, women racing drivers, and understanding their journey through the system to help us better understand how we can start to course correct some of that. The second thing we'll be looking at is how we give them more time in the car. So we will be looking at opportunities through the season to drop more women into the cars, to give them more time to get better and experience what it's like to drive a Formula E car. We then look at where are the barriers within motorsport that effectively is preventing women from coming from the top of the funnel right the way through to the race car. So for example, the Generation 4 car, which we will launch to the world in 2 years' time, will have power steering. One of the reasons it will have power steering is because we know the steering weight on the existing car is quite high. And for a lot of our women drivers coming into the test, that will be a challenge for them because of the upper body strength required to drive a car for a considerable number of laps with that steering weight.
Why do you think that we haven't seen a woman in Formula E since its first season in 2014?
What we simply haven't seen between then and now is a woman driver break through and show a team that by replacing one of their existing drivers with them, they would have the ability to score more points and perform better in the championship. And that, for me, that's simply because in that time period, the women have had no chance to drive the car. They've had very little opportunity to drive the car, which is why when we spoke to the teams and said, we want a dedicated test for the best women drivers in the world, they were 100% supportive.
I guess finally, do you think or hope that Formula E could beat Formula One to the first female elite champion?
So I try not to compare ourselves with Formula One because we're very different to Formula One. Formula One's 75 years old, we're 10 years old. Very different cost profiles to race in this series. But I'm also very competitive. So not that this is a competition, but I do believe that with the money involved and the sponsors involved and the teams involved and our ability to be more agile and more flexible given our age, and we don't have the same legacy and the same infrastructure that Formula One have, I think we can provide more opportunities more simply for women drivers. I don't think we have to overly modify the cars. And I think if we look at F1 Academy and W Series and Formula One, obviously they're not racing in the same machinery. So I think we have a better opportunity to provide more opportunities for our women to get in the car. So maybe I'm going out on a limb. I was going to say, I don't like to bet, but in reality, I do. I love to bet. So if I had to place a bet, I think probably, yes, we would have a world champion, a women world champion in Formula E before Formula One would.